Jonathan here reporting for RoadToVR.com, and I'm at Redbull Media Studios with Solomon Rogers, who's the founder of Rewind FX. I've walked through the rain to get here to try the Redbull Air Race VR simulator, which is amazing. It's the first time I've really tried positional tracking in VR. Gives a little bit of background to how that came about.
Okay, so we're pretty lucky. We've been doing a lot of VR stuff in the past. You guys, we've been bumping into you for a little while. But we've been pushing with Redbull to try and do something interesting. And every time we got close, they'd always be backing us up to doing 360 video projects. And I just pushed really hard with this one, saying the only way you're ever going to get someone to experience what it's like to go in an air race plane at 200 miles an hour is to do it fully CG. So to make it in UE4. So we did it. We managed to do it. So we LiDAR scanned, built the entire air race in UE4. And it was great for DK1, and we released it, and it went out there. There's a stand traveling around. But DK2 changes everything, as you said about the positional tracking thing. So we've got the demo here today. It's the first time anyone's had a go with it, and let alone the fidelity is up there. Like the HD thing, it changes it. But positional tracking, people talk about presence all the time, but it really, really makes a difference. Where it's not about leaning forward and being closer to the dials or leaning back. It's just the subtleties.
That's what I
it's
found.
the nuances.
It is that you do initially start to look left and right over the plane, but it's just the more natural, subtle relation to what you're seeing on screen in terms of where you're headed.
You just need to have that. That additional amount of movement is the bit that puts you in the plane or being voyeuristic watching the plane. It had a lovely thing of, you'd lean forward and lean back, you'd get a little bit of head tilt from the DK1, but the DK2 positional stuff is a game changer. And if you haven't tried it, you've got to try it.
We can see on the screen now that people seem to love it, at various different events.
Yeah.
How do you quantify the success of a VR-based marketing campaign, and when will we see this being extended to the home? So you go to an event like outside Tesco's or whatever, how can we get that at home or on mobile or whatever?
Well, the problem is at the minute, there aren't enough of these devices in people's. It's not a consumer product. So at the moment, what we're doing, you either are developing for the future, so you're building a AAA title game, Call of Duty, Forza, whatever you want to do it, or you're building an indie game, which is fun. Maybe a few of the people that have DK1s and DK2s will download it and buy it and give you £1.50 or whatever. But the stance we're taking is that brand engagement and looking at products or experiences or, in some ways, emotional connections can be done in the right way. So we did. This one is an experience, so allowing people to sit in a plane and do something they would never be allowed to do. So sitting 200 miles an hour, fly a plane, feel what it's like, is nuts. Like, it's an absolutely nuts thing. Or our Blue project is about an interactive music video, ethereal, emotional engagement.
That's the electronic cigarette.
Yeah. So that's a different. So it's the same thing. We're doing something for everything, but it's an experience. And then the other side of Lexus project is seeing a new car, a product in fidelity and experience, and making it different and choosing different paint styles. And each of them is different ways of using VR. I think the other one, which we haven't done a lot of, is the narrative. Right. So long form film, book, experience, and tell a story. Now that is hard. How are we going to tell stories in VR beyond trying to just do a linear narrative? Because you can't tell linear stories. You've got to go back to experience things where it's about finding your own ways. Horror movie, great. Yeah. Thriller, probably okay. Yeah. Telling comedy in VR.
Probably can't talk or even respond to this, but you've got quite a close relationship with Oculus at home, and I know you're going to Oculus Connect. You made the cut. Congratulations.
It was a tough one to get.
No, it's really hard. I wish I was going, so I could have put like a little camera on you.
I'll record it and send you a thing.
So, are you working on the Samsung device? And if so, is there any information that you can provide us with?
The Samsung device that has been talked about a lot and online is as much as I'm allowed to talk about. But if you consider that what you're producing is split-eye, Android-based device, you can do that now. You can do that with Google Cardboard. You can do it with AltaGaze. You can get your hands on what you're developing for. The only thing you can't look at is any of the other interactivity connections to it. We know there's a joypad, that can connect to it, but Bluetooth joypads exist right now. So you can be developing for it already.
Yeah.
The way we look at the content that we produce and the apps that we produce is an understanding that mobile VR will take over as the most adopted form. So the Oculus Rift project and the big VR home headset, big gaming, home cinema type of stuff is one end, and mobilized, dock it in the front of a headset thing will be the one that most people take. We've got great app stores, we've got immersive content, and we can give it to people right now at a much, much cheaper price point. You don't have to have a crazy powerful PC. If we keep it in engine, we've got to work with mobile graphics cards. They're pretty good, but you've got to fight the good fight. What we tend to do is we're exporting 360 video content from the game engine and making spherical video, which then played inside Android devices or iOS devices. There's some great SDKs and players. We tend to do it in Unity because we then got a bit of interactivity and choices and that sort of stuff.
Well, I mean,
but you lose stereo.
Right. Well, that's interesting you've been on to 360. Only today I had a really good chat with Sean Ramsey from Bubblecam.
Yeah.
Fascinating company, fascinating product, very exciting live 360 functionality. Why don't you think this is 360 or 3D60 is the ultimate form of VR?
3D, 360. So let's stop saying 3D, 360. Let's say stereoscopic 360 video, because that's what we're trying to do. We're doing two eye stuff. It's not possible to do because we're physically changing the position of our eyes. If I have standard stereo, two eyes, that's fine. And I can do it over here and I can do it over here. So let's do a 12 GoPro rig. We have sweet spots. Every time we hit the two lenses, boom, great, I've got depth. Boom. The blend between is going to get really messy and horrible. You're not going to win because you're generating frames, you're generating imagery that doesn't exist. The only way to get it truly possible is in-engine because you've got two physical eyeballs, cameras, changing position in space and viewing stuff.
Right.
It is possible to do stereoscopic photoreal captured imagery, but the only way to do that is 3D scanning and reprojection of 360 video back onto that geometry and then view it through a game engine in real time. And then you've got two eyes really looking into it and you want 75 frames a second and you want positional tracking to put yourself into that space. If you do video, you're still fixed. You've only got this view.
Yeah.
So I hope someone basically blends a really fast 3D scanner with a 360 video camera and a reprojection system, and we might get close.
Right.
But I'm always going to see there's a disconnect right now until someone invents the next step up. So I like voyeuristic 360 video. So capture reality. I can use it on a gyro-enabled iPad, Android tablet. I can do two eyes, but I'm only looking into a sphere. But that's fine. I choose my direction I'm looking at. Hotspots, clickable, experience. But to get stereo, to get depth, you've got to go 3D scan, or you've got to do it in fully
3D scan, which you did with the LiDAR scan of this. That's right.
Yeah.
Surely, and I don't want to say I'm getting a little bit too technical, but for an interview, but you could in theory have that as a still scenario. So if you had like a Barrow 3D scanner, that's possible, but not moving. So
no, we can move you through we can scan a 3D space, and we can move you through this room in this environment, and we could generate that. We would probably scan, then retopologize, then reproject, so you've got a lower polygon count to run faster on the device. And the scans are never perfect. But we've got that, but now I want me and you to have this conversation in 360, and I want to be able to walk around the space and experience us in depth. We've got a real-time 3D scanners. There are real-time 3D scanners. They exist, they work in movies. If you haven't looked at Paul Debevic's stuff, is amazing with his light dome, which is basically real-time, high-resolution 3D scanning of characters, but they do it for films, which costs millions. Connect 2 3D scanning works, and we could put a bunch of them and try and get somewhere close to like bad holodeck time, and we could do some position stuff, so avatar ourselves back into some great stuff being done. But we are babies right now. We aren't even crawling in VR, and we're trying to do the next step. Someone will bring an environment where we'll have a room full of cameras, all doing depth map scanning in real time with data, and we'll push it all back together, and we'll have it at that point. But for static stuff, where there's no organics moving around, yeah, we can do that. 3D scan it, get it into engine, run around it, depth. But for...
This is a way off, isn't it?
I believe it's a way.
Yeah.
I mean, I love to see that stuff, and I love the jaunt stuff. But every time I go out, I'm like, oh, that's really nice. Ow. Oh, that's really nice. Ow. As you go between the hotspots.
Yeah. No, I know exactly.
So where I sit on the fence is that I work with people to do 360 video, and some amazing companies out there, and we help those do it. And we do the interactivity side and that sort of stuff. But I sit on the side of the fence that VR is an immersive reality that needs to be done in engine, in stereo, in 3D. And at that point, we need to do mocap and great-looking models, all the game stuff that we'll be doing for years in PlayStation 4 and Xbox One and PC games. We've got to bring that up to the forefront to let people experience it.
Finally, and it's probably an buzzer question, I'm going to ask it anyway. Got a gentleman here from Facebook.
Yes.
Do you have a relationship with Facebook? You must do that they're here. And do you have, I know you can't talk about anything really, but do you have any personal opinions about how VR right now is very much a personal one-to-one experience, where that fits into a social media setting?
So we've got a great relationship with Facebook. They saw our work, they invited us in to talk to them, and there's some interesting things there. Similarly, working closely with Oculus to make sure that the quality of brand experiences and VR games that we're creating is at the best level we can. You know, we're all breaking new ground every single day together. You're right. You put the headset on, it's a personal experience. When I play games, I lock the door because I don't want someone coming up to me and freaking me out midway through a game. But I think where the two companies are taking it, especially Facebook's angle, this is my personal opinion only, is that they're trying to help define a new way of social interaction. So they did with social media. Facebook is the way that a lot of people communicate with each other. And we had a really bad time with Second Life.
Right.
But it was a really good idea.
Bouncing back?
Communities, ideas, places, build your own universes. I know some people that are musicians that play gigs to thousands of people still in Second Life now. Thousands of real people go to a virtualized environment to listen to someone play live. Now I think where they're trying to take this sort of stuff is, let alone to get involved with something new, it's definitely coming. You know, we enjoy VR and that sort of thing. And the VR conferences that are happening are amazing. Put the headset on, go somewhere, experience something, communicate.
The Rift Max one recently.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. And that is a game changer, let alone anything else. But I think that where they're really taking it is sports and education. So I can sit in the front of an MIT class and be involved with it, or I can be in the best place in the house. But I think people will go to social places to engage with each other as avatars. The success of World of Warcraft is still baffles me, but people communicating and engaging in a virtualized world, and I think that where we're going with our VR world, with the kind of higher stuff, is that sort of place, where people can communicate and do experiences together in the comfort of their own home that they couldn't normally do anywhere else.
And presumably, go through your timeline of probably a lot more VR promotions. Click on here for, which is great, because it's probably like when people go into the Redbull Aero Simulator, they actually want to experience that brand connection. It's not really a big ask, is it? But well, listen, really great talking to you, Solomon Rogers. It's rewindfx.com.
That's right.
Thank you for watching. Want to go to rotovr.com for lots of news. Probably the best way to keep up to date with any RotoVR news is by liking us on Facebook, and then it just appears straight in your timeline and you can just see it pop up all the time. So thanks again.
My pleasure.
See you soon.
Good to speak to you.